so thank you all for your attention. We'd just like to share with you a little bit of what we were doing for the month of Kartik with our Govardhan Academy students. This year we decided to focus on Srila Prabhupada and a very specific part of Srila Prabhupada's time here with us. Sometimes there's like a moment in history, often this is what you read in social studies, it's a moment in history that changes the course of the world, right? Usually it's something very negative, someone gets killed and starts a world war, or someone does a bad decision and it affects the world wide for many, many lifetimes, years, or whatever it is. So this was a very important part in our, the history of our whole Sampradaya practice, our history of our culture, was the decision Srila Prabhupada made to come to America. This was a decision that has impacted us in our one little lifetime, but has such a huge impact in many, many more lifetimes, many more years and stuff like that. Something that we feel like, Prabhupada came on the Jolly, we just kind of throw it out there, oh, he had this problem, he had that. But what did it mean that Prabhupada made this decision that impacted us so strongly and will be impacting changing the entire course of the world for so many years? So we thought, let's share with the kids what this was like. What did Prabhupada do before he came to the States? What was it like when he was on this boat? And so we did this every day. We would read some of Srila Prabhupada's diary. We started a little bit before his diary. He had actually started his diary a little before his journey, but we read a little bit about his previous life and how long he took him to make this decision of actually coming, or how long it was brewing in him, starting from his first or second meeting with his spiritual master until the culmination of him finally being able to get on the ship. So we have a few little facts we'd like to share, and then we'll explain what all this is, and then we'll go into the last quality because it kind of all ties together. So hopefully it won't be too long. That's okay? Okay. So, we have a list of facts. I'll kind of probably jump around a little bit on here. But we were reading one very beautiful book. I'm sure you've read it before. It's called A Friend to All by Mula Prakriti. And it's a lot of interviews for people who knew Srila Prabhupada before he came to the West. And one of those most profound, and I really recommend everyone reading this particular interview, was there's one pujari from Advaita Acharya's temple in Shantipur who remembered seeing a sadhu coming to his temple for many years, coming and praying and praying and praying. And he had this beautiful memory of seeing this sadhu coming, and he was praying to Advaita Acharya, and he was crying and crying and said, please. And finally the pujari came to see the sadhu, and the sadhu said, I'm just about to go for America and I'm coming for the blessings. And so then this pujari was just stunned that his friend was going to go try this thing, and then he didn't hear from him, didn't see him for many, 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 many years, and finally he came to Mayapur, or some white devotees came to his temple, and he said, what? I've never seen white devotees. And so finally he came and said, this is amazing. He came to Mayapur and said, this is amazing. Prabhupada did it. He did it. He actually... So if you can read that, it's like so heart-wrenching to hear. But so 2 days before his departure, Srila Prabhupada went to Mayapur, to the samadhi of his Guru Maharaj, to ask for the blessings, and also to Shantipur to pray to Advaita Acharya. And then he finally, after much difficulty, got his ticket, got his passport, his visa, all the paperwork all set up together, which is quite a fascinating story, but I won't share that right now. But so when he finally was able to go onto the boat, he wrote in his diary, only 2 people were there to see Srila Prabhupada. And it was his youngest son, Vrindavan Chandra, and only a casual acquaintance that Prabhupada had met just a lecture before. And that was it, like seeing this is like going to change the entire course of the history of the world. And only 2 people were there to witness him leaving off. And then Srila Prabhupada prepared for his journey as much as he could, but his biggest preparation was he brought 3 trunk loads of his first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was about 200 books of the Srimad Bhagavatam in 3 trunks. And he had a little bit of clothes, some cereal, because he was thinking he would only be able to eat potatoes and oatmeal in the West. Puffed rice, not even. So that was, yeah. So that was what he was worried about. So he had some backup, a little bit. Chaitanya Charitamrita and about 40 rupees, which would be like yeah, at that time it was like $7, right? But maybe more, a little bit more like, you know, $10 or $15 or something like that. And so we have a special little treat for everyone after. This particular trunk is just a model of what the actual trunk looks like. Kar's father has one of the actual trunks that was on the Jalabhita Diary, but in the trunk there are 3 volumes or 4 volumes of the actual Srimad Bhagavatam that Jamuna had as Mahaprashadam. So I invite you guys all, after we're done a little presentation, to please come and you can put the beautiful books that traveled with Srila Prabhupada on your heads as a little special Mahaprasad for tonight. So Srila Prabhupada first started out, we started out with Srila Prabhupada in Calcutta, and he went through the Bay of Bengal, and this is where he first started getting extremely seasick. So I'm sure some of you have experienced motion sickness before. It's quite unpleasant. And it was day after day after day after day. And finally he got to Colombo, which is in Sri Lanka, and then Cochin, and then across the whole Arabian Sea. It started getting worse and worse, and finally there was a whole week where he didn't write anything. And that whole week was him going across the Arabian Sea, was the week he had the heart attack. And so we read a little bit about what it's like to have a heart attack, and the first thing they say is call 911 immediately. So of course Srila Prabhupada is out in the middle of the ocean. He probably didn't even know at the time what was happening either, because sometimes you don't, the symptoms are not always so obvious. But when we did read it, it's actually astonishing that Srila Prabhupada was able to survive that whole experience. And then finally he was feeling better. He went to the Red Sea, and then continued on after that. So Srila Prabhupada's journey was approximately 16,000 kilometers and took 38 days. So he left the day after Balaram's appearance day, which you'll notice on the calendar now, I'm sure. And so that meant he spent Janmashtami, his birthday, Radhastami, on board the ship. All those major festivals he spent on board the ship with just, crew of 50 people maybe. He fasted on all the Ekadasis as well. We actually were reading, there was just an Ekadasi and then a Dwadasi before he got his heart attack. And both those days he had to fast because he wasn't feeling good. Then he fasted another whole week after that because of the heart attack. Srila Prabhupada was seasick for at least half the journey, suffering from nausea, dizziness, headache, and fatigue. Now this was something we also were studying about, that Srila Prabhupada went on a cargo ship. And so we actually tried to pace out the measurements of this cargo ship. And it was 22 meters wide and 155 meters long. So it was actually quite large. But most of it is taken up by a lot of the cranes and all that kind of stuff. So Srila Prabhupada was stuck on this one little tiny space, and that's all he could do was walk around that one tiny space for 38 days. It's amazing. And he had the only private cabin on board. They had only given, so everyone else were sharing cabins, but he was the one who was able to get a private cabin. Let's see. It was built, the Jalabhita was built in 1959, but now no longer, it's listed as deceased, or no longer deceased. I guess when their boats are done, they call them deceased. And so during this week of the heart attack, this was when Srila Prabhupada had such a powerful dream, where he saw in his dream Lord Krishna, all of the incarnations were rowing him safely in the boat, bringing him to his destination. So
Prabhupada says they were bowing the rope.
They were bowing the rope?
Yes, you're in the tape. All the incarnations were bowing the rope.
Because it moved him so deeply, because, of course, having a heart attack is a frightening experience, but having Krishna's protection so vividly shown to you like this. And so this is what our diorama was, something else we worked on, the diorama of all the incarnations paddling with the little paddles with Prabhupada on the Jalabhita. So that was done by all the students, each one participating. Their incarnation. A big thank you to Deva. She was the one that headed the whole thing up and made it so beautiful and so impactful like that.
So where is it going to go?
Where is it going to go? We'll have it, I don't know. We can have it somewhere for a while before it starts to fall apart. And so then, amazingly, after that, Srila Prabhupada, like we actually were reading how Srila Prabhupada was in the Bay of Bengal. Now, one of the things we noticed was Srila Prabhupada left in September. And if you're ever in any of these oceans in September, October, August, called hurricane season, right? So most of these, anywhere that is end of summer is like monsoon season, is hurricane, typhoon. Most of these oceans have very dramatic things. So Srila Prabhupada actually experienced a typhoon-type weather in the Bay of Bengal, and he also had very turbulent seas in the Arabian Sea. He said the Mediterranean was beautiful. The only problem they had was fog there, but it was perfect temperature, he said. But then when they got to the Atlantic Ocean, it was most of the time, the Atlantic Ocean is extremely turbulent. We just had like, I don't know how many, especially in this area, how many hurricanes go through, hit Florida every year. They go all the way up the coast. It's always a very dramatic thing. So this is in the middle of September, very hurricane season. And Srila Prabhupada said, or the captain told Srila Prabhupada, it was the calmest he'd ever seen the Atlantic. And Srila Prabhupada said, if the Atlantic had shown his usual face, I would be dead. So Srila Prabhupada was very personal. Atlantic was a personality. And so he also listed a few things he made on the Jaladuta, which is pretty fascinating in his diary. He later shared those recipes with Jamuna. So the first thing he ate after his heart attack actually was a khichdi that he made, and he said that helped him a lot. And later on he made another sabji, a potato green bean sabji, and also a curry sauce. So those were a few things he said he made and really relished and appreciated. So we made one of those things with the children. We made the potato and green bean sabji, which I think the adults really liked. The kids tried it, but they weren't so impressed. Tulsi liked it. And then we also tried, the khichdi didn't work out so much, but then tonight we didn't have time to make the last one, so tonight I made the curry sauce based on that recipe for us to share. And so now we are coming to what our kids will do. So our last quality was poetic, and I was thinking how interesting that they have listed that as a quality of a Vaishnava, because actually a poetic, poet is one of these artistic things where you could be a writer, you could be a poet, you could be an artist. So why particularly as a devotee, why is poetic such a quality listed? Why not writer or painter or something like that? And so I was thinking how a poem or a song, which is what poetry often is a very intimate encapsulation of someone's feelings and his internal heart. Usually hear these songs and they allow us to relate to what that person's feeling or thinking or something that was moving, an emotion that was moving in their heart. Most of the songs we hear are nonsense garbage songs of how someone got their heart broken or whatever it is. But when a Vaishnava writes about his internal mood or his feelings or his emotions or even his prayers to Krishna and other Vaishnavas, it's actually such a powerful tool for all of us to appreciate what they're going through, but also allows us to give us the feelings or the words so that we can also make our own prayers. We can also feel what they felt. And so Srila Prabhupada actually was an expert poet even before he came to America. His first English poem was published in BTG, or not BTG at that time, it was Bhaktisiddhanta's newsletter. And as soon as Bhaktisiddhanta saw that poem, he said, publish whatever Abhay Charan writes. He's an expert writer. And that was a poem that Prabhupada wrote. And so then on the Jaladuta, Srila Prabhupada wrote two really beautiful bhajans. And this is pretty amazing because in these bhajans, Srila Prabhupada shows so much faith in Krishna and so much humility at the same time. He's fully confident that Krishna will do everything. Usually when we endeavor for something, we pump ourselves up. I can do this. This is it. I can do this. I'm good enough. Srila Prabhupada never says, I can do this. But he is fully confident that it will happen because Krishna will allow it to happen. And so his confidence is always in Krishna and he's still so humble. So the bhajan we're going to sing tonight is actually a bhajan Prabhupada wrote when he first saw the city, when he first finally arrived. I think it was in Boston. He saw this American city for the first time. Now Srila Prabhupada talks about the different cities he's been in when he stopped at each place, and he often remarks if it was Indian culture or not. So I think he was picking up on his own culture, and that was making him feel happy. So if you can imagine Prabhupada never leaving India ever. This is back in 1965, where the culture hasn't been so. Now you go any city, they all look the same. Every city now looks the same anywhere you go. But there, it was very strongly Indian culture. There wasn't a huge influence of Western culture yet. So Prabhupada goes, and all of a sudden he's preparing, and all of a sudden the reality of seeing this huge city in America is there. And he's thinking, or you'll see in the bhajan, he said, I'm here. How am I going to do this? There's a huge city, not one person is going to care about an Indian sadhu? And so the kids will sing the bhajan. We're going to sing it in English, the English translation, but in the tune of the bhajan, and hopefully you can feel what Prabhupada is feeling at that moment. It's very, very beautiful.